joined by the one and only Lee Anderson. Now, look, Lee, you've been making a heck of a lot of headlines again, as you do, OK? The Supreme Court blocked the Rwanda deal. You said it's a dark day for the British people. We should just get the planes in the air right now and send them back to Rwanda. Steve in Lancaster's emailed in. He says, Lee, what time is the first flight from England? But on the Prime Minister's press conference earlier, ITV journalist Anushka Ashtana was desperate to know if you'd be sacked for your comments, all right? So here's what he said.
Well, I think what Lee's comments, and indeed the comments of others, do is reflect the strength of feeling in the country on this issue. And I absolutely share, actually, in the frustrations that my colleagues and indeed people across the country have about this.
What do you make of that, Lee?
Well,
ITV wants his sacked.
Well, yeah, well, ITV can go and do one, as far as I'm concerned, Patrick. I mean, quite clear that the Prime Minister is backing the sentiment of what I said. I spoke to Rishi tonight, actually, just before I got here. Look, we are frustrated. We're fed up. You know, we've marched up the hill a few times on this issue. This is a bit of a kick in the teeth. But you know what? I think every cloud is a silver lining. This forces us on now. I know you spoke to Bill Cash earlier. He's an expert on this matter. And, you know, we need to make sure that the laws, and Rishi said we're going to change the law, more legislation to make it watertight. But here's the thing, Patrick. The people in Ashfield, the people in this country are fed up to the back teeth of these illegal migrants coming over this country, taking the mick, they're stopping in hotels, they're costing us an absolute fortune. And I've always said, I've been consistent from day one, we should send them back the same day. If we did that, they'd stop coming.
So you are doubling down on your comments earlier, ignore the law, get the flights taken off.
I've never changed my mind on this from day one. They should be sent back the same day. Like they do in Australia, they turn them around, they stop the problem. These people... Look, Patrick, when you go to bed tonight, you will lock your back door and put your alarm on, and you do that for a couple of reasons, really. You don't want intruders coming in, and you don't want your house being broken into, and you want to be safe. We should do the same with our borders. It's as simple as that. OK, so to answer Steve's question, what time is the first flight from England taking off? Now, I imagine. Well, I'd like it to go now. I'd be waving it off on the runway with my union flag and saying, you know, you come here, you get in this country, you break into this country, you come here illegally, you throw your passports away, we don't want you, get on that flight. OK, strong stuff. There you go, Steve. I think your question has been well and truly answered there. But where do you see the Tories going from here, Lee? You know, is the party in yet another leadership crisis? No. There's rumours of letters of no confidence, more letters of no confidence. Let me just tell you now, Patrick, here on GBNews, that's nonsense. There's no way there's going to be a leadership contest. We don't need a leadership contest. We need to let Rishi crack on with the job. Look, if people start... I think there's one letter gone in. You know, I think you need about 50 letters. Well, let's talk of 7 now. But there's not, mate. There's one letter gone in. And this is the thing. If there was a leadership election, Rishi would win. Hands down, as simple as. So would he, though? Because, yeah, absolutely. The membership didn't vote for him. Yeah, but the membership wouldn't get a vote. You've got to get over a certain tipping point to get into the last two. He would win, as simple as that. Talk of a leadership election at this stage is absolute nonsense. It's playing right into the Labour Party's hands. So you're not going to resign, then? No. Absolutely not? I've never resigned from anything in my life, I don't think. No. No, never. You're not for walking away. You're not for turning. Not for turning. I mean, my role is a political role. I think, you know, I speak to members every single week, Patrick, up and down the country. I think I've got my, you know, I've got my finger on the pulse, the political pulse, if you like, of the membership. They're frustrated. You know, the country's frustrated. But you know what? I mean, we've seen Labour tonight in the chamber, and we've heard them rattling on this afternoon. They ain't going to solve this problem. I know people are frustrated. I'm frustrated. People like Bill Cash out there, he's frustrated. But the only party that can sort this out is the Conservative Party. Do you think people like Bill Cash would rather still have Suella in? No, I don't think he would. I mean, Suella, she's a good friend of mine. I think she's been a great Home Secretary. She's been very, very strong. But, you know, we've moved on. And the one thing I've learnt in politics, Patrick, in the short time I've been involved in that place over there, is that people say a week is a long time in politics. Sometimes it's a short week, but it is. You know, this time next week, Suella will be forgot about, and we'll be talking about something else. Just quickly on this one, Phil's been in touch, and it ties in, thank you, Phil, for something that I'm going to be talking about later on when I show this raw footage of when I was at this, and it is a hate march. Yeah, I've seen a bit of it. He says, can you ask how long we can go on with this ridiculous two-tiered policing? We had racism on the streets there, we had extremism, and they asked us to leave, and this was all kicking off. This is the problem. I mean, most of this is in... We don't see it in my neck of the woods, Patrick, to be honest. We see it in in London a lot, and I think sometimes Mayor Khan turns a blind eye to this. You know, they're very quick to clamp down on one particular set of protesters, but seem to turn a blind eye on the others. We've seen tonight, actually, on Whitehall. I was a little bit late getting here tonight because it was absolutely rammed with Palestinian flags, and I'm sure amongst them there were people shouting horrible, nasty things, vile things.
Stay tuned, everybody, because you're going to see some really fascinating stuff. It kicked off big time, and I think it exposes, frankly, the reality of what is going on at these marches and the way that the police deal with them. Just one final one, bit of a shift in tone here, Lee, a bit of a different one. We always like to get you on the old culture wars or the wokey stuff, right? So in other news, a female pool player walked out of a national competition after refusing to play against a trans athlete, Harriet Haynes. Take a little look at this.
Yes, please.
Right, so they refused. They refused to play against the trans athlete. You're a strong defender of women's sports. Your reaction?
Why are the men, basically, Patrick, why are these men intent on competing in women's sports? That's the question I want to...
they'll win?
Well, because they'll win. This man, dressed as a woman, he probably wouldn't get in the top 50 or top 100 of pool or snooker players in the world as a man. So what they're doing, Patrick, they're cheating. And, you know, if you're a woman and you take up a sport and you compete against women and you practice from a young girl and spend all your spare time practicing in a particular sport, then all of a sudden this Harriet, probably Harry in a previous life, comes along, gets his stick out and starts trashing all the women at pool. It's absolute nonsense. He ought to be ashamed of himself. Absolutely fed up to death at this nonsense in this country.
I can tell you are bubbling.
I'm furious.
Just generally under the surface.
I spoke to colleagues earlier about, you know, men just going in. You know, one time a day, Patrick, if a bloke turned up at a swimming baths when I was a kid and dressed as a woman went into the changing rooms, he'd get 6 months for that, and probably a good hiding down at local miners' welfare.
All right. Well, there you go. Look, Lee Anderson, the Deputy Chair of the Tory Party, you heard quite a lot of stuff there. I'm just going to go to a statement made by Harriet's lawyer with her endorsement. It says, for all the comments that people hold that being trans is an advantage in cue sports, there is no scientific evidence to prove that. Indeed, that is the view also shared by the World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association and the International Olympic Committee, who classify cue sports as precision sports and thus not affected by gender. So there we go. Lee, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. Strong stuff, as always.